Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Psalms, chapter 18, verses 1 through 3. I will love thee, O Yahweh, my strength. Yahweh is my rock and my fortress, and my deliverer, my Elohim, my strength, in whom will I trust? In whom I will trust, my buckler, and the horn of my salvation, and my high tower. I will call upon Yahweh, who is worthy to be praised. Shall I be saved from mine enemies?
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, my El is a rock.
My El is a rock and a weary. My El is a rock and a weary. He's a shelter in the time of storm. My El is a rock and a weary. My El is a rock and a weary. He's a
Shelter in the time of storm.
a charge to keep I have.
Oh, yes.
An El to glorify.
Oh, yes.
Who gave his son my soul to save and fitted for the land of Zion.
Oh, yes.
To serve the present age.
Oh, yes.
A calling to fulfill.
Oh, yes.
Oh, may all my powers engage to do my master's will.
Oh, yes.
My El is a rock and a My El is a rock and a He's a shelter in the time of storm. My El is a rock and a weary. My El is a rock and a weary land. He's a
Shelter in the time of storm.
the nations you have called to walk in righteous truth. So we must teach them of your way, your laws to hear and do, to serve the present land. I have a calling to fulfill. He leads me, guides me, I understand. My master's laws are real. My El is a rock and a weary land. My El is a rock and a He's a shelter in the time of storm. My El is a rock and a weary. My El is a rock and a weary. He's a shelter in the time of storm. A charge to keep I have. An El to glorify. Who gave his son my soul to save and fitted for the land of Zion. To serve the present age. A calling to fulfill. Oh, may all my powers engage to do my master's will. My El is a rock and a My El is a rock and a weary land. He's a shelter in the time of storm. My El is a rock and a weary. My El is a rock and a weary land. He's a shelter
The oracles of the UCI, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have favor and love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on the Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. As we get closer and closer to the redemption of the children of Israel, we're going to have to start really diving into examining some of those generational curses that we have had laid on us. Now, we know the things that are written in Deuteronomy 28. We understand that those are the broad parts of those curses. But then when we get right down into things, we start getting into the specifics of which parts of that affects you and your bloodline, which things that you need to start dealing with. And there are certain things that don't even seem like curses, because what they are, it's almost like a pause for you to get blindsided later. The whole setup of the projects was a generational curse, and it was built to be a generational curse because they knew at some point they were going to remove it. But it was indeed a project, and that project was to see if they could hold us back as a people by giving us free gifts, and it worked. Because welfare mothers produce welfare mothers who produce welfare mothers. So after producing more and more generations of that, providing them free housing, telling them that the only way we'll help you is if you quit your job. That was offered unto my mother when I was young, that she could get assistance if she quit her job. She said, absolutely not. But a lot of people went for that. So to get the assistance, they then quit the job and more and more generations behind them end up being born right into the project mentality. Then out of nowhere, they shut down all the projects. They came through, shut down what used to be the hood, and now it's luxury condominiums. Now you have a remnant of our people floating through there because they keep, they keep one old lady from each project. The one who has the least amount of possibility of causing problems. That way they can say, we revitalized the community and we have existing people from the old community. It's one lady and she like 102, okay? This is the game that they play. Go ride through old Carver homes. Go ride through some of them old projects and see what you run into. So this is one of those things, but on the opposite side, that is also happening to Gentiles. White privilege is a generational curse, and they don't know it yet. I often speak about, the negative part of winning. When you talk about, and it jumps right at you when you're watching football, the big muscle-bound dudes that cry when they lose the championship. And I mean, some of them are crying real hard. The ones who take their loss early, they learn how to do without. They learn about disappointment. We don't consider that an asset. But when you're constantly winning, which is what white privilege is, you're winning without trying. You're winning without providing any effort. You are winning just because you're white. Well, when that disappears is when you're going to take your first L. When you go 15-0, that first loss in the championship, they're going to cry like they've been losing all year. If you take your first L in the beginning, it doesn't break your spirit when you still disappointed when you lose, but it don't break your spirit. When you have been winning with white privilege and suddenly that's going to be gone, and it's going to be gone, because what is going to happen is you can play the colonial game as long as you go out and conquer other places in the earth. But when the daughter of Babylon is destroyed and the Europeans have to go back to other Europeans, there's no more white privilege because everybody white. White privilege only works when you're around other ethnicities. It don't work when you're around all white people. Now the classism is going to take effect. So with that privilege gone, that generational curse is going to hit them full-fledged, and it's going to be hard. Because ain't nothing like taking your first L after winning constantly without any effort. One of the brothers had sent a video, and it was about I think it was supposed to be a fireman, off-duty fireman, white guy, choking this black guy. And I mean, he choking him out. They filming it. It's happening. The black guy's woman is there. She has a pistol in her hand with an extendo clip. The clip hanging out the back, hanging out the bottom of this thing. Look like she got 30 rounds. She keep begging the white man to get off. And then part of that statement says, we're not finna watch. My kids in here, we're not finna watch another black man get choked out while we beg for our life. White privilege would not allow him to stop. He just felt like he was gonna choke this man to death in front of her with her gun out. That's where the video stopped. You got to read the rest of it, that she took care of that business. And he's no longer around. And his privilege told him that he could keep doing it. So that generational curse goes positive and negative. So don't think because something is appearing to be good in your life at this point that it is not the setup of a generational curse. White privilege doesn't seem like a curse to them. They're getting to have what they want. But the Europeans don't care nothing about Yankees. And they think the entire United States are Yankees. You might think Yankees just mean New York. No. If you're not from England, you're a Yankee. Mm-hmm. So they got a problem with Yankees. Yankees have not experienced that kind of racism from somebody who looks exactly like them. So let that be duly noted that this is something that that is going to affect everybody. Let's begin today's sermon in 1 Kings chapter 21. And we're going to start with verses 1 through 4. First Kings chapter 21, and we're going to read verses 1 through 4.
And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard, which was in Jezreel, hard by the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria.
All right, so sometimes your problem is you just live next to an idiot. This is not a good place to be. To just live by an idiot. And he has expansion on his mind. Go ahead.
And Ahab spake unto Naboth, saying, Give me your vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house. And I'll give you for it a better vineyard than it. Or, if it seem good to you, I'll give you the worth of it in money. And Naboth said to Ahab, Yahweh forbid it me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto you.
Now, there are certain things that are happening right here that if you don't go into certain parts of the law, you don't really understand how foul Ahab's request was. I'll read the next verse.
And Ahab came into the house heavy and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him. For he had said, I'll not give you the inheritance of my fathers.
I will not give you the inheritance of my father. He understands that this is inherited land. Inherited land is supposed to stay in the family. But his desire for it was no more than because it's next to my house. It's the only desire he has for it. Because it's in a good location for him. Never mind who it belongs to or how you received it. Go ahead.
And he laid him down upon his bed and turned away his face and would not eat no bread.
All right. So we're going to hold your place right there because we need to go into a few things so that you understand even the setup of this. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 5. Because the first thing, even in reading some of these situations, you need to understand where the issues come in at. All right? When you talk about learning the ways of Yahweh, his ways are contained in these stories. A lot of times people say, oh, this is just a book of stories. His ways are contained in these stories. See, the children of Israel stood before the mount. They said, all that you have said, these are the commandments we will do. Just like we go and stand before somebody and we get married and we say, I do. All right. It's the covenant. You agree. Now you got to go home and learn the particular ways of that individual. And every individual has their particular ways. So we agreed to the covenant with Yahweh. But these situations and circumstances, these are his ways. These are not just stories. These things are how you learn the ways of your Elohim. So the things that are important unto him then become important unto you. You notice how he deals with a situation, it should then affect how you deal with a situation. Deuteronomy chapter 5, and let's start that at verse 21.
Neither shall you desire your neighbor's wife, neither shall you covet your neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's.
So the first step of coveting is desiring. So this is where step number 1 was. So in a lot of things, there's like a speed bump. If you stop at the speed bump, you might be okay. So here's the first speed bump that you realize you are desiring something that does not belong to you. Go ahead.
These words Yahweh spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone, and delivered them unto me. And it came to pass, when you heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that you came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes, and all your elders. And you said, Behold, Yahweh our El has showed us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen the day that El does talk with man, and he lives.
All right. And he said, Behold, Yahweh our Elohim has showed us his glory and his greatness. But remember, it was a while to the point where Moshe said, show me you. I'll show me your ways. Show me another part of you. I want to know you deeper. That is not shown in his glory. We'll see his glory. That still doesn't mean that you know his particular ways. That's what the law is for us to learn his ways. Go ahead.
Now therefore, why should we die? For the great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of Yahweh our El any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that has heard the voice of the living El speaking out of the midst of the fire as we have and lived? Go you near and hear all that Yahweh our Elohim shall say. And speak you unto us all that Yahweh our El shall speak unto you, and we will hear it and do it. And Yahweh heard the voice of your words, which you spake unto me. And Yahweh said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto you. They have well said all that they have spoken.
They have well said, let a intermediary be between us. They have well said that. Because if I keep talking to them and they keep staying the way that they are going to be consumed. They have well said what they have, this is a bunch of, it was wisdom said from this. Now, they probably said it from a different place. It was a place of fear, but it was right for them to be afraid. Go ahead.
Oh, that there was such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always.
Right. They got the kind of fear of being scared, not the kind of fear that causes you to do what you're supposed to do. That's the thing. You got to understand, which fear do you have? The kind of fear to just take off running? Something happens and you just disappear? Or do you have the kind of fear that causes you to amend your ways? Go ahead.
That it might be well with them and with their children forever. Go say to them, get you into your tents again. But as for you, stand you here by me, and I'll speak unto you all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments, which you shall teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. You shall observe to do therefore as Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. You shall walk in all the ways which Yahweh your El has commanded you, that you may live, and that it may be well with you, and that you may prolong your days in the land which you shall possess.
Now, they asked for this, and we have fought this from the day we asked for it. This is why you have so many people. I talked to God last night. Wait a minute, you talked to him yourself? Yeah, I talked to God. God told me such and such. We have fought this very thing. We asked for it because of the greatness of the power, that we didn't want to be consumed. Now, people actually have the most problems with that. As Yahweh sent prophets, Israel execute the prophets. Man, some of these prophets went through the most horrible time ever, which it becomes kind of interesting how now in these modern times, everybody's a prophet. You can't be reading this book. If the position's open, I'm hoping Yahweh not giving me that one. So I would like you to be a prophet. Are there any other jobs? Do you have anything? I mean, is there a doorman available? kings fare better than the prophets. I'd rather not. Yet everybody, God told me. You might want to be careful about that. Get in this book, start reading what these prophets went through. And who ends up doing it? The very people they prophesying to. Yet all of a sudden everybody is a prophet. You go to one of these crazy congregations, they said every last one of y'all a prophet. You know why? Because y'all just read out the book. That is the strangest doctrine I have ever heard in my life. But if you want to get a lot of people, get something as dumb as you possibly can. And just say it over and over. Get you some uniforms and march down the street and Knuckles will join you. Just consider. If you get on this block and take off running, you know people will start running with you. They don't know what the hell they're running for. They will just run. What we running for? What? The same thing. Get out there and start marching. Put on the uniform. Watch how many people start following you. Hey, brother, where we going? They don't know what the hell they doing or where they going. But look how many people march right behind them. It's just strange. None of the doctrine makes any sense. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, do you want quantity or quality? That's what I was telling people when folks said, oh, you're going to recruit these people from this congregation? No, I don't want nobody from no congregation. We want quality, not quantity. I hope if you can't cut the mustard, go catch up somewhere else. Get the hell out of here. I hope you would do that. I don't want us to be. I remember my elder saying, if it ain't but two people in here in righteousness, that's what I'm going to deal with. He was like, them seat dwellers. And seat dwellers, when you deal with that quantity, you get just that whole hangout mentality. But you got to consider something. If you went to go and hang out in the street and some people came, were they actually searching for the word? Or they was just bored hanging out in the street and you gave them somewhere to go hang out by passing out something to them? Now instead of hanging out in the street, they're just hanging out at your spot. Where's their dedication to your Elohim? So have you gotten quality or you just got quantity? Remember, he said, go out into the street. Just bid all of them. Tell them to come in. Then he come and find people unworthy. It would do you some good as you pull them. Hey, let me explain to you what this is. Go ahead, brother. Did you finish that?
Yes.
Go and read the definition for covet for me.
Covet from H183. Avah, a primitive root to wish for, covet greatly, desire, be desirous, long, lust after.
So a desirous situation, that's what coveting is. All right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 19. And I want you to read verse 14. So we got the coveting part because he desires it. Go ahead.
You shall not remove your neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in your inheritance, which you shall inherit in the land that Yahweh your El gives you to possess it.
Okay, so we have first step, desiring. Now, removing a landmark is a whole nother sin. So sometimes you get stuck at covenant and you think, okay, that was his problem. Oh, no. There's more problems. Now let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 27. Read verse 17.
Cursed be he that removes his neighbor's landmark, and all the people shall say, Amen.
All right, now we agreed to this as part of the covenant. So you have the covenant. the coveting, where there is desire for this thing. Then there is the attempt to remove the landmark. Then there is the curse that comes along with removing the landmark. All of those things he is being held to, whether he understands that or not. Because these instructions were already given unto our forefathers. So we were born into this agreement. So now, as these things start to take place, understand what's happening here. Now let's go back to 1 Kings chapter 21, and we're going to keep going at verse 5. So now you understand the basis of what happened between verses 1 and 4. Go ahead.
Well, Jezebel, his wife, came to him and said unto him, Why is your spirit so sad, that you eateth no bread? And he said unto her, Because I spake unto Naboth the Jezreelite, and said unto him, Give me your vineyard for money, or else, if it please you, I'll give you another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give you my vineyard.
Now, understand something. The land part is so important. When you get into Leviticus 25 and it starts talking about the Jubilee, it says every man must return unto his possession. You must then, even if you buy land, that land goes back in the Jubilee. Understand something. He know what kind of man Ahab is. He know if he sell this land, he ain't never getting it back. He know that. You don't live close to a fool and not know that they're a fool. You can tell they fool ways every time you come on. Look at him over there. Oh, he know. He ain't never getting that back. Go ahead.
And Jezebel, his wife, said unto him, Does you now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise, and eat bread, and let your heart be merry. I will give you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. So she wrote letters in Ahab's name.
Now, he understands this. He didn't ask any questions. Now, baby, how you going to do that? Because he didn't want to know. He just wanted the results. Go ahead.
So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters unto the elders and to the nobles that were in his city, dwelling with Naboth. And she wrote in the letters, saying, Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high among the people.
Now, you can't get any more foul. Proclaim a fast and set him on high. So when you set him on high, everybody watching him. So he's being built up so they can tear him down. Go ahead.
And set 2 men, sons of Belial, before him, to bear witness against him, saying, You did blaspheme Elohim and the king, and then carry him out and stone him that he may die. And the men of his city, even the elders and the nobles who were the inhabitants in his city, did as Jezebel had sent unto them.
Listen, the men of the city, elders and nobles who were the inhabitants in this city, did as Jezebel sent unto them. They elders and nobles. But they did what she said. Where was the righteous judgment that's supposed to take place in this situation? They just said, you blaspheme Elohim and the king. That's it. Charged, convicted, executed. There's nothing else said about any other proceedings. Go ahead.
And as it was written in the letters which she had sent unto them, they proclaimed a fast and set Naboth on high among the people. And there came in 2 men, children of Belial, and sat before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth did blaspheme Elohim and the king. Then they carried him forth out of the city and stoned him with stones that he died.
And because of situations like this, it lets you see why Yahweh hate liars. See, people don't understand the power of a lie. And even why they sent 2. 2 witnesses must bear witness against an individual. So understand, even the evil understand our word and how they're going to use it. So then 2 witnesses come to tell the same lie. And some of us have been fall victim to the same things. The same little evil crew get together. They come and say something to you, and you believe it must be true because 2 of them said it. It's just 2 liars standing together. Go ahead.
Then they sent to Jezebel, saying, Naboth is stoned and is dead. And it came to pass, when Jezebel heard that Naboth was stoned and was dead, that Jezebel said to Ahab, Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Israelite, which he refused to give you for money.
Now, that statement said something. He should have just sold it to you. He should have given away the inheritance of his father. But then you go back to Esau and Jacob, and you, wait a minute. I'm not going to set this my birthright. What you talking about here? These are things that I'm supposed to leave to those who come after me. How can I leave it if I sell it to you? And why I'm going to sell something I don't need no money? Go ahead.
You know, even with this, you see how quick they pounced on it because his next kinsman's supposed to take that land over.
Exactly. That lets you know that everybody know what the deal is. They know what kind of man and what kind of woman that they're dealing with. But you're absolutely right. Next of kin was supposed to be there. Go ahead.
For Naboth is not alive, but dead. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Israelite, to take possession of it. And the word of Yahweh came to Eliah the Tishbite, saying, Arise, go down to meet Ahab king of Israel, which is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, whether he is gone down to possess it.
Now, Yahweh is extremely poetic in punishment. And I say this over and over, and I don't think people get it. He is so poetic in punishment. It matters how you do something. If you pay attention to what you go through, you can figure out why you went through it. Because he is poetic in it. So Yahweh specifically steps back. This situation takes place. He could have gone to this man at any time. He makes sure that he's standing in the vineyard. And this place is going to be the place of punishment because of this deed. Go ahead.
And you shall speak unto him, saying, Thus says Yahweh, Have you killed and also taken possession? And you shall speak unto him, saying, Thus says Yahweh, In the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth shall dogs lick your blood, even yours. And Ahab said to Eliah, Have you found me, O mine enemy?
You know what? At some point we have to consider, if Yahweh's servant is your enemy, you have to be on the wrong side. It is amazing to me how many people will call a servant of Yahweh their enemy and still believe that they are a friend of Yahweh. That is utterly amazing. He has no problem saying, Have you found me, O mine enemy? Yahweh's servant is your enemy? That's who you want to conjure up a plan to deal with? One of Yahweh's servants? And you don't think you're standing in the wrong place? Wow. Go ahead.
And he answered, I have found you, because you have sold yourself to work evil in the sight of Yahweh. Behold, I'll bring evil upon you, and will take away your posterity, and will cut off from Ahab him that piss against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel.
All right, part of the poetic part in this is you have taken the inheritance of another man. In your punishment, there will be none left to inherit. I'm going to take care of your inheritance. Since you tried to steal his inheritance, there will be no males left in your family to inherit anything. Go ahead.
And will make your house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahiah, for the provocation wherewith you have provoked me to anger, and made Israel to sin. And of Jezebel also spake Yahweh, saying, the dogs shall eat Jezebel by the wall of Jezreel. Him that dies of Ahab in the city the dogs shall eat, and him that dies in the field shall the fowls of the air eat. But there was none like unto Ahab, which did sell himself to work wickedness in the sight of Yahweh, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up.
Right. A lot of men believe that they run their house, and me and Kish have been in places where brothers will say, you don't think I run my house? I run my house. They don't understand they're getting stirred up by the woman. The woman working them like a joystick. She got a controller, it's sitting in her purse. She pull it out. It says husband. And she just move the sticks, and he just move. And he don't know why he doing it, and he think it's his decision, And she like, yeah, I need some new batteries in this thing. He ain't moving smooth, He don't know the controller in her purse. And he swear he manly. He swear he making the decisions. He swear he in control of his house. And she controlling every move he make. She stirs him up. This is why you have to be careful not to jump at everything that is said to you. Learn how to sit still for a minute. It's a lot of brothers down there Memorial Drive in that cage down there because their woman said something to them. And before she finished talking, he had already jumped into action. The problem is she said it from her feelings. He's already reacted. Now he either in that cage or he in the ground. He being stirred up. Now he already done sold himself, but he's easily stirred up. Be careful about being so easily stirred up. You have to learn how to sit still in your spirit. Go ahead.
And he did very abominably in following idols, according to all things as did the Amorites, whom Yahweh cast out before the children of Israel. And it came to pass, when Ahab heard those words, that he rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his flesh, and fasted, and lay in sackcloth, and went softly.
Now, here is a very, very interesting development. Now, it says there's none like him that did sell himself to do evil. He is, deeply evil. He's evil down to the core, to the marrow of his bones. He is evil. Yet, when the judgment comes down, he repents. When he heard the words, he rent his clothes, put sackcloth upon his flesh, fasted, lay in sackcloth. But this is the biggest part of it. Went softly. See, when you know you have agitated your Elohim, there should be a difference in your demeanor. Instead of him being the bossy type individual or however he operates, he now walks softly. So people are able to see, hey, he really going through something. Because this ain't like him to be nice like that. He's going softly. This is worth more than any offering that one could offer. He has made some form of repentance, and Yahweh is going to recognize it. Don't mean you're not going to get punished, though. Go ahead.
And the word of Yahweh came to Eliah the Tishbite, saying, See you how Ahab humbles himself before me? Because he humbles himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but in his son's days will I bring the evil upon his house.
Now, he just created a generational curse. You understand? Through his actions. But now check out how the generational curse goes. Because he did humble himself after he did it, Yahweh paused on the punishment. But guess what? Now his seed got to deal with that punishment. But your move was going to cause problems with another man's seed. Now I'm going to cause your move to have problems with your seed. He's poetic in how he does things. Let's go to John chapter 8. Yohanan chapter 8. And you kind of see the same things in how Yahshua operates. See, his ways are in these things. See, so even sometimes when we deal with some things and we talking about a generational curse, some of you have been blessed and you don't even know to thank Yahweh about it. Because there were individuals, it says they have cursed practices, cursed children. Guess what? Those cursed children, if they were still here, was going to persecute your children. Why? It says that those after the flesh persecute those after the spirit, as it is to this day. So if those with cursed practices had been allowed to stay here, having their cursed children, their children would have been walking around these halls persecuting yours. And every time you turn around, there'd be a reason, well, this happened for this. No. I can tell you why it happened. Because that is a child of the flesh who's persecuting a child of the spirit. And no matter how many conversations you had with them, it was never going to stop. You ain't never going to talk a snake out of being a snake. That is what it is what it is. Go ahead, brother.
Yohanan chapter 8 and verse 1. Yahshua went on to the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came on to him. And he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. Now Moshe in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what says you?
Now, Yahshua automatically knows that, okay, they bring up the law while breaking the law. You, through mentioning the law, who teach the law, do you yourself not obey the law? So they're bringing the law to him. The law says if she's caught in the very act of adultery, she ain't the only one who's supposed to be stoned. There's supposed to be two people stoned. She's the only one there. Yahshua recognized this is a foul proceeding. And what do? Even here, if they don't do the court case right, the case get thrown out of court. Go ahead.
This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Yahshua stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not.
And let this be, these are not just stories. Remember, you are learning his ways. Do you understand that there's certain things that you need to just keep going as if you didn't hear? So such and such did something to it. Oh, yeah? Man, that's messed up. His ways are right in here. Are you paying attention to his ways? Or you just think you're just reading stories? You ain't supposed to be reacting to everything. If that's the case, you might as well go ahead and put a joystick, plug it in your back, and just hand it to people at will. Go ahead.
So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, He that's without sin among you, let him cast a stone at her.
Cast the first stone at her. Because who's supposed to cast the first stone?
Witness.
The witnesses. So, but instead of him going there, he went deeper. No. I want the sinless to throw the stone. Now, a lot of people, because they don't understand what's happening here, they think that Yahshua is completely taking away judgment out of the law. No, he's taking unrighteous judgment away from them. Not judgment. He says, I didn't come to judge you. Oh, I have one who's going to judge you. They think all judgment is being done away with. And they take this situation out of context. That's not what he's doing. But there's something seriously wrong with how they're doing this. Go ahead.
And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground.
Right back. He is without sin, cast the first stone. Sinned. He went on back about his business. And now he's pausing. You see how sometimes we just moving like a jackrabbit and we all over the place. Look at Yahshua. Cool as a fan, guy. Calm down. Go ahead.
And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one.
One by one. That means there's a pause. See, what happens if you just move all and you're just ready to go all the time? One by one. This takes time. Go ahead.
Beginning at the eldest.
Why the eldest?
Should have more sense.
They should be the first ones to realize that they have been convicted because they are not sinless. See, the young dumb one's still standing there. They don't know no better. As the process goes, they realize that I should get up and go too. Go ahead.
Even on to the last. And Yahshua was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst.
Now, this takes a process of time. And Yahshua is still riding on the ground. He's taking care of his business. He's waiting. There's a process to certain things, and you must not skip the process. Now, one by one, now it's just him and her. Go ahead.
When Yahshua had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman.
Lifted up. So what was he doing this whole time? Yahweh, where you gonna have that donkey at? Holla back. Sing. Go ahead.
He said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Has no man condemned you?
After he done made him leave, then he asked her, what is it? Go ahead.
She said, No man, Adonai. And Yahshua said unto her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more.
Sin no more. So we know that he understands that she did do it. So then you start to look at how things are handled. Now, if she continues to go in this, she gonna get dealt with for this occasion and the last. Whatever she does after that, what do they do when you get on probation? You might think you got off. Do it again. Matter of fact, do anything. They bringing back that old situation. Now let's go to 2 Kings chapter 9. Second Kings 9, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
And Elisha the prophet called one of the children of the prophets, and said unto him, Gird up your loins, and take this box of oil in your hand, and go to Ramoth Gilead. And when you cometh thither, look out there Jehu the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, and go in, and make him arise up from among his brethren, and carry him to an inner chamber. Then take the box of oil and pour it on his head, and say, Thus says Yahweh, I have anointed you king over Israel. Then open the door and flee, and tarry not.
Now, you know some mess is about to start when Yahweh tell you to anoint somebody and then run. So what's happening? He's anointed to cause absolute mischief. Wait a minute. They got those kind of anointings? When somebody say, oh yeah, he's been anointed, child. Anointed by who? Anointed for what? He is anointed for pure deed destruction. He said, don't wait now. I'm telling you. When you pour the oil on him, you shouldn't even hear the oil hit the floor. Whoa, out. He is going to want to do evil immediately. Leave. Go ahead.
So the young man, even the young man the prophet, went to Ramoth Gilead. And when he came, behold, the captains of the host were sitting. And he said, I have an errand to you, O captain. And Jehu said, Unto which of all of us? Unto which of all of us? And he said, To you, O captain.
No. Just you. No. Not all y'all. I just need to talk to you. Go ahead.
And he arose and went into the house. And he poured the oil on his head and said unto him, Thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel, I have anointed you king over the people of Yahweh, even over Israel. And you shall smite the house of Ahab your master, that I may avenge the blood of my servants the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of Yahweh at the hand of Jezebel.
All right. He has been anointed to do a job. Go ahead.
For the whole house of Ahab shall perish, and I'll cut off from Ahab him that piss against the wall.
Right. If he cutting off him that piss against the wall, men stand up and piss against the wall. All right? So if you're confused what they're talking about, I was amazed when I saw that in the book. He talking about pissing against the wall? That's in the Bible? That means he's going to kill all the male heirs. Which means the women are going to be absorbed into another family. Go ahead.
And him that is shut up and left in Israel. And I'll make the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahiah. And the dogs shall eat Jezebel in the portion of Jezreel, and there shall be none to bury her. And he opened the door and fled.
Opened the door and got out of Dodge. Go ahead.
Then Jehu came forth to the servants of his master, and one said unto him, Is all well? Wherefore came this mad fellow to you? And he said unto them, You know the man and his communication.
He don't even want to say it right away. He don't even want, because, wait a minute, why would you be anointed to lead Israel? You ain't supposed to be leading Israel. He don't even want to say it. Go ahead.
And they said, It is false. Tell us now.
Right. They said, man, you lying to us. Man, tell us what he said. Don't just tell us, well, you know the man. You know you know how he talk. You know him. He be tripping. Go ahead.
And he said, Thus and thus spake he to me, saying, Thus says Yahweh, I have anointed you king over Israel. Then they hasted and took every man his garment.
Oh, they love to hear this. Go ahead.
And put it under him on the top of the stairs, and blew with trumpets, saying, Jehu is king.
Right. Because this means they have not liked the leadership, though they have been following him. Go ahead.
So Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram had kept Ramoth Gilead, he and all Israel, because of Hazael, king of Syria. But King Joram was returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him, when he fought with Hazael, king of Syria. And Jehu said, If it be your minds, then let none go forth, nor escape out of the city to go to tell it in Jezreel. So Jehu rode in a chariot, and went to Jezreel, for Joram lay there. And Ahaziah, king of Yehudah was come down to see Joram. And there stood a watchman on the tower in Jezreel, and he spied the company of Jehu as he came, and said, I see a company. And Joram said, Take an horseman, and send to meet them, and let him say, Is it peace? So there went one on horseback to meet him, and said, Thus saith the king, Is it peace? And Jehu said, What has you to do with peace? Turn you behind me. And the watchman told, saying, The messenger came to them, but he comes not again. Then he sent out a second on horseback, which came to them, and said, Thus saith the king, Is it peace? And Jehu answered, What has you to do with peace? Turn you behind me. And the watchman told, saying, He came even unto them, and comes not again. And the driving is like the driving of Jehu the son of Nimshi, for he drives furiously. And Joram said, Make ready. And his chariot was made ready.
He know he going to war. He done sent out two. They have not returned. He understand. Oh, no. He's driving furiously. He came to take care of some business. Go ahead.
And Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Yehudah, went out, each in his chariot. And they went out against Jehu, and met him in the portion of Naboth the Israelite.
Now, what are the chances that we gonna meet at the land? Now understand, there's a process of time that's happening here. Now, where is this battle? This altercation is gonna take place where your daddy and your mama had somebody killed. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when Joram saw Jehu, Then he said, "Is it peace, Jehu?" And he answered, "What peace, so long as the whoredoms of your mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many?" And Joram turned his hands and fled and said to Ahaziah, "There is treachery, O Ahaziah." And Jehu drew a bow with his full strength and smote Jehoram between his arms. And the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. Then said Jehu to Bidkar, his captain, "Take up and cast him in the portion of the field of Naboth the Jezreelite. For remember how that when I and you rode together after Ahab his father..."
Listen, so they were there. Go ahead.
"Yahweh laid this burden upon him. Surely I've seen yesterday..."
You see how Yahweh leaves something there. He said, no. You remember when he says, "Hey, I have found you, oh my enemy." Remember how we was there and this burden was laid on him? They didn't know that they were going to be the ones to do it, though. Now pay attention. Yahweh left them there because they were going to be the ones to do it. That's why they had to hear it. Go ahead.
"Surely I've seen yesterday the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons, says Yahweh, and I'll requite you in this plat."
In this plat, when you buy a house and you got land, you go down to the county. They said, "You want to find out something about your land?" They all go, "Well, you need to look in the plat book." So what plat of land is yours? So each one of those that page is a plat for your property that you own. When you hear plat, they're talking about a specific piece of land. He's doing this specific. No. This is where you shed some blood. This is where the generational curse is going to attack you at, in the very area that you shed blood. Go ahead.
"Saith Yahweh, now therefore take and cast him into the plat of ground, according to the word of Yahweh." But when Ahaziah the king of Yehudah saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house. And Jehu followed after him, and said, "Smite him also in the chariot." And they did so at the going up to Gur, which is by Iblim. And he fled to Megiddo, and died there. And his servants carried him in a chariot to Jerusalem, and buried him in his sepulchre with his fathers in the city of David. And in the 11th year of Joram the son of Ahab began Ahaziah to reign over Yehudah. And when Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face and tired her head, and looked out a window.
She act like she going to a show. She about to be the show, though. Go ahead.
And as Jehu entered in at the gate, she said, "Had Zimri peace, who slew his master?" And he lifted up his face to the window and said, "Who is on my side? Who?" And they looked out to him 2 or 3 eunuchs. And he said, "Throw her down." So they threw her down. And some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses. And he trod her underfoot.
Now, it matters how you treat the people, because they would have to try to get all the way up to there to get to her. She obviously didn't treat these people too well. They were more than happy. Here she go. Go ahead.
And when he was come in, he did eat and drink, and said, "Go, see now this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter." And they went to bury her, but they found no more of her than the skull, and the feet, and the palms of her hands. Wherefore they came again and told him. And he said, "This is the word of Yahweh, which he spake by his servant Eliah the Tishbite, saying, In the portion of Jezreel shall dogs eat the flesh of Jezebel, and the carcass of Jezebel shall be as dung upon the face of the field in the portion of Jezreel, so that they shall not say, This is Jezebel."
So his punishment for her was she's not going to even have enough to be buried. Let's go to our Hosea, chapter 11.
$9.27.
Appreciate it. And we're going to start that at verse 12. So when you talk about Ephraim, it is synonymous with Israel. And we understand that Israel and Yehuda is a split nation. So Yahweh deals with them as two sisters. Leah and Rachel, if you will. Go ahead.
Ephraim compassed me about with lies, and the house of Israel with deceit. But Yehuda yet rules with Elohim, and is faithful with his saints. Ephraim feeds on wind, and followeth after the east wind. He daily increases lies and desolation. And they do make a covenant with the Assyrians, and oil is carried into Egypt. Yahweh has also a controversy with Yehuda, and will punish Jacob according to his ways. According to his doings will he recompense him. He took his brother by the heel in the womb, and by his strength he had power with Elohim. Yea, he had power over the angel and prevailed. He wept and made supplication unto him. He found him in Bethel, and there he spake with us. Even Yahweh El of hosts, Yahweh is his memorial. Therefore turn you to your El. Keep mercy and judgment, and wait on your Elohim continually. He is a merchant. The balances of deceit are in his hand. He loves to oppress. And Ephraim said, Yet I am become rich. I have found me out substance.
This is when we are the hardest to deal with. He says, beware, at least when you are fed to the full, that you go against me. This is that point when we the hardest to reach. Can't nobody tell us anything. This is why you find some of these people says, don't make me poor, but don't make me so rich that I forget about you. But I don't want to be so poor that I steal. Keep me somewhere where I can still seek you and receive direction from you. Now, some people can have a Ferrari and still listen to Yahweh. Other people, that Toyota Corolla sent them right out of here. That's all it took for them. They had the LX model. Done deal. I don't need God no more. That's it. That's all it took for you. I would at least thought you would have waited for the Camry. Go ahead.
In all my labors they shall find none iniquity in me that were sin. And I, that am Yahweh your El, from the land of Egypt, will yet make you to dwell in tabernacles, as in the days of the solemn feast. I have also spoken by the prophets, and I have multiplied visions, and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets. Is there lawlessness in Gilead? Surely there are vanity. They sacrifice bullocks in Gilgal. Yes, their altars are as heaps in the furrows of the fields. And Jacob fled into the country of Syria, and Israel served for a wife, and for a wife he kept sheep. And by a prophet Yahweh brought Israel out of Egypt, and by a prophet was he preserved. Ephraim provoked him to anger most bitterly. Therefore shall he leave his blood upon him, and his reproach shall his Adonai return unto him. When Ephraim spake trembling, he exalted himself in Israel. But when he offended in Baal, he died. And now they sin no more. And now they sin more and more, and have made them molten images of silver and idols according to their own understanding. All of it the work of the craftsmen. They say of them, let the men that sacrifice kiss the calves.
So Israel then gets to this place where they have become degenerate generation after generation at this point. After doing so many things and operating in a certain way, Yahweh attempts to correct them. They will not receive the correction. After that, he steps back and allows them to keep falling back further and further. At this point, him not disciplining them is a part of their curse. See, I'm not going to discipline you anymore. After you done talk, even Yahweh says, why would would you be stricken anymore? The whole head is sick. I done whooped you. I done fussed at you. I done all this. No. And there's no need of spending any more resources in trying to correct you. You have made a decision what type of individual you're going to be. So he steps back, and the curse is to allow you to keep going in it until it destroys you. Sometimes curses don't seem like curses. You're just having a good time. But he says, I have attempted several times, multiple times, to get you to turn back. Now he steps back. And when you become a parent, you learn what that means. That there's some kids, you can fuss at them, and it'll straighten up. They're just like that. Some of them, you can look at them, and they'll be like, I know I was doing wrong. There's others, you can hang them up by their feet and beat them butt naked with switches dipped in water. They'll get right up out of that after you untie them. Where you going? Going to do that same thing that you just whooped me for. That's just who they are. And once you realize that's what that is, what you gonna do? You gonna keep whooping them? No, this is who they are. All I can do is separate myself from you. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Therefore they shall be as the morning cloud, and as the early dew that passes away, as the shaft that is driven with the whirlwind out of the floor, and as the smoke out of the chimney. Yet I am Yahweh your El from the land of Egypt, and you shall know no God but me, for there is no Savior beside me. I did know you in the wilderness, in the land of great drought. According to their pasture, so were they filled. They were filled, and their heart was exalted. Therefore have they forgotten me. Therefore I'll be unto them as a lion, as a leopard by the way will I observe them. I will meet them as a bear that is bereaved of her whelps, and will rend the caul of their heart. And there will I devour them like a lion. The wild beast shall tear them.
I will meet them as a bear that is bereaved of her children. Do you know how angry that bear is? Get close to any animal after they done had a litter. It could be your own animal. And if they ain't ready for you to be around the litter they just had, they about to let you know. You about to find out. Go ahead.
O Israel, you have destroyed yourself, but in me is your help. I'll be your king. Where is any other that may have you in all your cities? And your judges of whom you said, give me a king and princes. I gave you a king in mine anger.
I gave you a king in mine anger. I was angry with you. You asked for a king, I was angry. So I gave you a king. But he was also foul. But I was angry with you when I gave him to you. Go ahead.
And took him away in my wrath. The lawlessness of Ephraim is bound up. His sin is hid. The sorrows of a travailing woman shall come upon him. He is an unwise son, for he should not stay long in the place of the breaking forth of children. I will ransom them from the power of the grave. I'll redeem them from death. O death, I'll be your plagues. O grave, I'll be your destruction. Repentance shall be hid from mine eyes. Though he be fruitful among his brethren.
And that's all that we need to help us continually do wrong, because it appears that we are fruitful monetarily. See what it says? I have found me out substance. I done found myself rich. Go ahead.
An east wind shall come, the wind of Yahweh shall come up from the wilderness, and his springs shall become dry.
That east wind take away everything. This east wind come up, and all of a sudden, all that stuff you done stored up gets dried up. Go ahead.
And his fountain shall be dried up. He shall spoil the treasure of all pleasant vessels. Samaria shall become desolate, for she has rebelled against her El. They shall fall by the sword. Her infants shall be dashed in pieces, and their women with child shall be ripped up.
All right. Let's go to chapter 7. chapter 7, and let's start that at verse 1.
When I would have healed Israel,
Would have. Go ahead.
then the lawlessness of Ephraim was discovered, and the wickedness of Samaria, where they commit falsehood, and the thief comes in, and the troop of robbers spoils without.
Right. There's sometimes you can already see when some things are going to go awry. You know, when I was younger, my mom would look at my friends, and you know, she was like, "Oh no, you on your way to destruction." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "These are some foul individuals, and these people that you're hanging out with, you can pretty much tell that you on a bad path because of the people that you are okay being around." And I didn't see exactly how foul these individuals were at that point. But experience tells you things. In my youth, I'm just looking at, these are friends and they've never done anything wrong to me. I don't see the future deceit that's in their heart. She was able to see it. Everything she said happened. Was she a prophet? No. She was experienced. She said, no. Now, after the situation, I could go back. I said, when this happened, that's how you know that this individual was this. She was like, yep. Okay. I got it now. I see what you were saying now. But it took me another 10 years to see that. Go ahead.
And they consider not in their hearts that I remember all their wickedness. Now their own doings have beset them about. They are before my face. They make the king glad with their wickedness, and the princes with their lies. They are all adulterers, as an oven heated by the baker, who ceased from raising after he has kneaded the dough until it be leavened. In the day of our king, the princes have made him sick with bottles of wine. He stretched out his hand with scorners. For they have made ready their heart like an oven, whilst they lie in wait. Their baker sleeps all the night. In the morning it burneth as a flaming fire. They are all hot as an oven, and have devoured their judges. All their kings are fallen. There is none among them that calls on to me. Ephraim, he has mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
Now, when you deal with a cake not turned, it's cooked on one side, but if you don't flip it over, that's still a raw sourdough on the other side. It's so sour you can't eat it. And when you talk about mixing yourself among the people, you have to also look at the attack that we are under as the black family is under attack. There are no images of a black family on television. You will never see anymore a black family with a black father, a black mother, and black children. Pay attention to every commercial, to every show. If there's a black family, somebody gay. There's not one family. Then you start to understand why they hate Bill Cosby so much. The only representation of a black family, and it was a successful black family. It wasn't a situation now in every one of there's a black person in the family, but it's never a black family. We are under attack visually. So that even when the people decide that they're going to be with the same sex, they still don't even choose a black person for that. Even the gay ones are moving. We are under attack on every side. When they show you a commercial, they're making you read in between the lines. What do? They'll show the dark-skinned man with the light-skinned curly-haired child. What are they doing? Pay attention. They don't show the whole family. They're showing enough for you to read in between the lines. And every commercial is that way. And then it seems to be the black man who's taking care of his responsibility. That won't be with the little black girl. It'll be the guy who's going to buy his daughter her first car. Y'all remember that commercial? It was like insurance or something. He's taking her to get the car. You see this very dark-skinned man, and you see the interracial child. Why is that a thing? If it's not about feeding this to us, then show every family. Show a white family, show a black family, show a Chinese family, show a Hispanic family. But we can never have a full family represented. So when you talk about and read this situation, Ephraim has mixed himself among the people. This is a part of where some of those generational curses are coming. Because what's going to happen? We're going to keep losing our culture every time it happens. Everybody think that they can keep it, but without pushing the culture, every time you mix, you are mixing in another culture. If you don't push yours, what's happening, each one of those mixes is taking over. Before long, there's no culture of yours left. When they got ready to come out of Babylon, they had kids that couldn't even speak the language. They were no longer interested in our culture. Why? Because they had married the women in Babylon. And these are things that Yahweh warned us about. This is what's going to happen to you. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Strangers have devoured his strength, and he knows it not.
Knows it not. He doesn't know that he's being devoured. Go ahead.
Yea, gray hairs are here and there upon him, yet he knows it not. And the pride of Israel testified to his face, and they do not return to Yahweh their El, nor seek him for all this. Ephraim also is like a silly dove without heart. They call to Egypt, they go to Assyria. When they shall go, I will spread my net upon them. I'll bring them down as the fowls of the heaven. I'll chastise them as their congregation has heard. Woe unto them, for they have fled from me. Destruction unto them, because they have transgressed against me. Though I have redeemed them, yet they have spoken lies against me. And they have not cried unto me with their heart. When they howled upon their beds, they assembled themselves for corn and wine, and they rebel against me.
They assemble themselves for corn and wine. So they like to party. Go ahead.
You know, brother, there was a part here. He was talking about the gray hairs. He says, yea, gray hairs are here and there upon them, yet he knows it not. And that's one of the things we keep trying to tell. Because you see a gray-haired individual, don't mean that they're an elder. Does not mean that there's wisdom there.
Right. Yeah, sometimes you got an elder and then you got an older. He's just an older individual. He's not intelligent as far as this word. He might have lived physically so that when it comes down to physical things, secular things, you can listen to what they have to say. When it comes down to spiritual things, you might end up getting yourself killed. Go ahead.
Though I have bound and strengthened their arms, yet do they imagine mischief against me.
Right. But they're not going to imagine this mischief directly against him. That's going to come to his servants. Like it is written, when you have done it to the least of these, you've done it unto me. Nobody's going to say, I'm going to pick a fight with Yahweh. No. They're going to go pick a fight with his servant, not understanding, oh no, who you really fighting is Yahweh. Go ahead.
They return, but not to the Most High. They are like a deceitful bow. Their princes shall fall by the sword for the rage of their tongue. This shall be their derision in the land of Egypt.
All right, let's go to 1 Kings chapter 11. And let's start that at verse 1.
But King Shlomo loved many strange women. Together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which Yahweh said unto the children of Israel, you shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you.
Now, he didn't say anything about ethnicity or anything. He's dealing with something specific. I'm telling you what they're going to do. Go ahead.
For surely they will turn your heart, they shall turn away your heart after their gods.
Now, to turn your heart toward their gods, you can see that in people's movement. All of a sudden, you don't do the stuff you're supposed to do. Whatever you get that turns you away from Yahweh, it is wickedness. If you can't have it and serve him, it is wickedness unto you. And it's not that it itself may be wicked. It's wicked unto you. Because you can't do what the hell you're supposed to do and have it. If that's a car, then the car is wicked. If that's a job, then the job is wicked. Why? Because you can't seem to follow anything while having this thing. That thing is wicked unto you. Go ahead.
Shlomo clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart.
Now, it's one thing if brothers get turned away with one. The direction that this cat is going in has got to be immensely difficult to figure out. There's 1,000 remote controls around it. And everybody moving and saying he don't know which way he going. Go ahead.
For it came to pass, when Shlomo was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with Yahweh his El, as was the heart of Dawid his father. For Shlomo went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites.
Now, it doesn't actually say that he worshipped any of them. But he did something. And as far as Yahweh is concerned, you might as well have worshipped him. But it doesn't specifically say that he worshipped any of these gods. It says he went after him. How did he go after him? Go ahead.
And Shlomo did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and went not fully after Yahweh.
Went not fully after Yahweh. So once you start mixing, what's going to happen is I can't fully go after Yahweh because this is going to offend her. I can't fully go after Yahweh because this is going to offend her. I can't fully go after Yahweh because this is going to offend this one here. Now there's a problem. You can't fully serve your Elohim because you're worried about offending someone. Moshe was worried about offending his foreign wife with circumcision, to the point that the angel said, I'm about to kill you. You about to die today. What was the problem? It was about culture. You're afraid to execute your culture because of the foreign woman you have. And I'm telling you, you're on your way over there. You don't know these people like you think you know these people. When they find out you got some little uncircumcised babies, they are going to rip you limb from limb. You already walk around, you about to walk in with some mixed babies. All right? You better not walk in with no mixed uncircumcised babies, or Israel is about to tell you. And apparently, they had PP check back then. I don't know who the hell was checking. But somebody would turn around and just grab, come here, bring your boy. Let me see it. What? Apparently there's somebody on that team, because they sure as hell was able to figure out these kids ain't circumcised. So they didn't just take your word for it. But because this wasn't her culture, this was an aggressive fight to get this circumcision done. Understand, we already got enough issues trying to get our own people to walk in the culture as we read it ourselves. Understand what you take on and understand what all you got to do. And Yahweh is not going to be giving you no consolation prize. Well, all right, look, because you did, so I understand you had a difficult situation because, she wasn't really feeling it. I'll just let you stay in the lobby kingdom. You just stay in the lobby of the kingdom. How about that? I mean, you'll be in the kingdom, you just be in the lobby, though. No. You either going in or you're going in the fire. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Go ahead.
As did Dawid his father. Then did Shlomo build an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab.
Built a high place. This is how he went after them. It didn't say he worshiped them now. See, a lot of people are doing things that they don't consider that they may be worshiping another god. Go ahead.
In the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods.
So as far as Yahweh is concerned, you did it because your wives did it. See, this is the other thing that we're not considering. When you marry something, when it sins, you sinned. Uh-oh. Okay, wait a minute, wait. Let me get this straight. Right, you became one. You just became one 1,000 times. So everything that it does, you did. Are you counting that? Yeah, every time they did it, you did it. So each and every last one of these, remember, it was because of Job's wife being his wife. That's the reason why she didn't die. All the kids died. But in the agreement, there was nothing spoken about his wife. He said, you can do whatever you want to do to Job, but save his life. In saving his life, nothing happened to her. That means his life and her life was one life. That works good, and that works evil. Go ahead.
And Yahweh was angry with Shlomo, because his heart was turned from Yahweh El of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which Yahweh commanded. Wherefore Yahweh said unto Shlomo, for as much as this is done of you, and you have not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded you, I will surely rend the kingdom from you, and will give it to your servant.
Give it to your servant. Go ahead.
Notwithstanding, in your days I will not do it, for Dawid your father's sake.
Now, this is happening unto you not because you have humbled yourself like Ahab. This is happening unto you because I love your daddy that much that I'm not going to let certain things happen to his son. That's the only reason why I don't whoop you the way you deserve to be whooped. Because I got that much love for your dad. So now, not only is there a generational curse, sometimes there's also a generational blessing. I'm not even going to fully whoop you. And it ain't got nothing to do with you. Lot was protected, not because Yahweh had some situation with Lot. He loved Abram. Go ahead.
You know, brother, in verse 9, it says, because his heart was turned from Yahweh El of Israel. And you were saying that, there's nothing here that says that he served their gods. But you got to look at the situation of, we all got to be careful of what we partake in, because the fact that he partook in setting these things up, and you had to go against Yahweh, because this is not your culture. Even when we had the situation where the brother was talking about, I'm going to sell pork to the strangers.
Right.
At that point, your heart is not with Yahweh, because that is not our culture, and it's an abomination. Why would you feel comfortable giving pork to somebody just because they're not of Israel? There's something wrong with you.
There's definitely something wrong with that. But you have to also look at this. Your Elohim made it a way for you to get substance. You then spent your substance to do this thing. How can you tell me you're not into it? You spent your money on it. So now you gonna come before the altar and tell Yahweh, oh, I really wasn't into that. Really? That's funny because I was looking at your receipts and it said you spent $200,000 on that. Huh? Yeah, I got all your receipts right here. I'm looking at the money you spent. Now, I hear what you're saying, but I'm looking at your money. See, I can tell what you believe in based on where you spend your money. See, when you don't believe in nothing, you don't put no money in it. When you believe in something, you put some money in it. Oh, no. You told me you wasn't into this, but I see that you're really into this. Look, here go your receipts. I got them day by day. No, you're really into this. Every time you got some money, you put some money into this. Now, you let your pocket change go to this. So this right here, what you said you believe, you don't really believe that. I can tell you don't believe that because I can tell you didn't put no money into it. But this right here, oh, no. You believe in this. Well, no, I don't really care about it like that. No. See, you can tell when the cat buy that NFL ticket. I said, oh, no, he into that. How you know? Because he want to watch all the games. He don't want to watch just games in his city. You know what I'm saying? There's some good games over there. They playing in Wisconsin. That game didn't make it to your television. But see, when you into something, your purchases say it. You have to consider that. You think that when we stand up for judgment, it's just going to be us? It says the books are going to be open. Books mean accounting. Understand what's happening there. Accounting. That ain't just what you did, also is included what you spent your money on. He spent his money on this. No, when the books are open, the accountant is going to say, no. Not only did you spend money, Yahweh enabled you to get this money. You then spent his substance on other gods, on your pleasures. No, you're going to answer for that. Go ahead.
But I'll rend it out of the hand of your son. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to your son for Dawid, my servant's sake.
Now, so what has then happened then? He has now set a generational curse that does not come in his days. It then comes in the son's days. But the only reason Yahweh is pausing because of the love that he have for Dawid. But now this boy is born into mischief. At this point, it don't matter how this boy live. He can live good all he want. Guess what he got coming to him? Mischief. It has already been pronounced. That's the thing that we have to consider. What are we doing that the next generation is going to have to deal with? And how many of the things that we have dealt with is because somebody before us did some things that we had to pay for? But let us hit a conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 1. When Yahweh your Elohim shall bring you into the land whither you go to possess it, and have cast out many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you.
Now, anytime we encounter nations greater than us, we automatically want to deal with those nations. See, because we want to take a hold of some of the power that comes with one of those greater nations. Go ahead.
And when Yahweh your Elohim shall deliver them before you, you shall smite them and utterly destroy them. You shall make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shall you make marriages with them. Your daughter you shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shall you take unto your son.
Now, he tells you exactly why. Go ahead.
For they will turn away your son from following me.
Now, what if they don't turn your son away from following Yahweh right away? Do you believe that it hasn't happened? Because it hasn't happened yet. saying point blank, your son gonna stop following me. Now, it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but I'm telling you, it's gonna happen. Go ahead.
That they may serve other gods. So will the anger of Yahweh be kindled against you and destroy you suddenly.
Now, he destroyed you suddenly, but it took a process to prove that you were turned against him. Then comes sudden destruction. So when he says suddenly, that might take 25 years for suddenly. Because he waiting so he can prove to you. I told you she was going to turn him. Go ahead.
You got to think about slow-mo. He came to him twice, but he said what? It's when in his old age
Right.
he started messing up.
Right. So Yahweh just sat there. No, they going to turn him. Go ahead.
But thus shall you deal with them. You shall destroy their altars and break down their images, and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. For you are an holy people unto Yahweh your El. Yahweh your Elohim has chosen you to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. But because Yahweh loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, as Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt. Know therefore that Yahweh your Elohim, he is El, the faithful El, which keeps covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repays them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hates him. He will repay him to his face.
Right, and none of the people of the earth will open their mouths and say that they hate Yahweh. Their actions will show that they hate Yahweh. Go ahead.
You shall therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command you this day to do them. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if you hearken to these judgments and keep and do them, that Yahweh your El shall keep unto you the covenant and the mercy which he swore unto your fathers. And he will love you and bless you and multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your land, your corn and your wine and your oil, the increase of your kind and the flocks of your sheep, in the land which he swore unto your fathers to give you.
So then we have an opportunity to then receive a generational blessing and to place that blessing upon our offspring if we conduct ourselves a certain way. Go ahead.
You shall be blessed above all people. There shall not be male or female barren among you, or among your cattle. And Yahweh will take away from you all sickness, and will put none of the evil disease of Egypt, which you knoweth, upon you, but will lay them upon all them that hate you. And you shall consume all the people which Yahweh your El shall deliver you. Your eyes shall have no pity upon them, neither shall you serve their gods, for that will be a snare unto you.
It will be a snare unto you to serve their gods. And look at the situation that we're in as a people. We carry this same book with us on Sunday morning, yet we worship another God out of Yahweh's legacy. You can't get any more blind than that. They taught us another God out of the same book. You know how many watch night services I went to on New Year's Eve? Not one of us asked, excuse me, Pastor, where that come from? I mean, we brought a Bible, but I can't find watch night in here nowhere. Yet we showed up. So we can party and bring the new year in with the Lord. That's what they told me. We were taught other gods out of the same book because we didn't hold anybody responsible for the things that they taught us out of the book. Go ahead.
You know, I was talking to my mom because, you know, when she watched Bible study and you say what you say, it's like, hey, where are you at now? So, you know, she was telling me she was listening to this lady talking about, you know, stuff that people go through. but no one ever asks the elders of the family about some of the traditions that they do, not realizing that these traditions and acts are the same thing, bringing other curses upon you because you're just following. So we got to talking about this whole watch night tradition stuff. And then she was telling me something about, you know, in Jamaica it's a thing where people buy houses and they kill a chicken and sprinkle the blood in the four corners of the house. And she's like, nobody ever stopped to say, where did this come from? But then she goes into the point of, when we came here, we have to once again remember the mixed multitude. There was Hamites caught up into that.
Right, right.
So we might be doing traditions of Canaanites and Perizzites and this and that, but nobody stops to find out where is this coming from, therefore bringing more of a curse upon us.
Uh-huh. We just start walking into these superstitious things, and you know it really is interesting that we won't even ask, and when you do ask, you'll find out, oh, you don't know either. Well, I mean, you told me. Well, I don't know, baby. Ask your grandmama. But grandmama didn't teach me this. You did. Well, grandmama taught me, so you'll be learning from who I learned from. So go ask her. Throw that buck right quick. Because they just repeating what they were programmed to do. This book says you're supposed to talk about these things amongst your children. And when your children ask you, why do we do this Passover? Then you're supposed to explain that to them. We're not supposed to be in a situation where we're doing something and we don't know why we're doing it. That is a problem. We're never supposed to be in that situation. Yet, before we came into this word, we were in that situation constantly. We never knew why we were doing anything. Even the people who was leading us in it didn't know why they were doing it. Or if they knew, they didn't tell us. Go ahead.
Verse 17, if you shall say in your heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? You shall not be afraid of them, but shall well remember that Yahweh your El did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt the great temptations which your eyes saw, and the signs, and the wonders, and the mighty hand, and the stretched out arm, whereby Yahweh your El brought you out. So shall Yahweh your El do unto all the people of whom you are afraid. Moreover, Yahweh your El will send the hornet among them until they that are left and hide themselves from you be destroyed.
Right. Yahweh says, I will send things that will run them off. You get hit by some hornets, you're going to move wherever you at. It's going to take care of that business. You're not going to stay there. He said, look, I don't have to make it the way you have to do everything. The earth and the fullness thereof is mine. I do what I will with it. Go ahead.
You shall not be afraid at them, for Yahweh your El is among you, a mighty El and terrible. And Yahweh your El will put out those nations before you by little and little. You may not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon you. But Yahweh your El shall deliver them unto you, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction until they be destroyed.
So then there's even a process in your receiving the land, so that you get it little by little as you are ready to receive it. Go ahead.
And he shall deliver their kings into your hand, and you shall destroy their name from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before you until you have destroyed them. The graven images of their gods shall you burn with fire. You shall not desire the silver or gold that is on them.
Right. But let us have a gold cross with some diamonds on it. Well, you know, I mean, it was for Jesus, but I mean, those are diamonds. Surely God wouldn't want me to get rid of this cross. What did he say? He said, the graven images of their gods shall you burn with fire. You shall not desire the silver or gold that is on them. It's the desire for it that causes us to want to hold on to it. So then you have to ask, How many cursed articles do you have floating around your house? Go ahead.
Nor take it on to you, lest you be snared therein. For it is an abomination to Yahweh your El. Neither shall you bring an abomination into your house.
Now, that abomination was already in your house because you worshiped that before. But when you got understanding, did you keep the abomination? You just put it, further down in the sock drawer? Go ahead.
Lest you be a cursed thing like it.
Least you have now been cursed by the cursed thing that you allowed to stay in your house. You knew that this thing, you worshiped this before. Go ahead.
But you shall utterly detest it, and you shall utterly abhor it, for it is a cursed thing.
So then we have a situation whereby we can provide generational blessings, or we can provide generational curses. It's up to us which things we make a decision to do. If we're going to do some things and provide generational blessings, then that means every decision that we make is not going to be about us. That means some decisions that you make are about the individuals who are going to come after you, not about you. But if you make every decision for you and the right now, you are definitely creating some generational curses for your offspring to deal with. That's all that we're going to deal with for today. I do want to make sure that the brothers know there will be no brothers class tomorrow. You guys go ahead and rest up, and we will resume next month. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.